In the winter of 2022, 4 college athletes embarked on a journey that would bring them face to face with a terrifying danger lurking in the rugged terrain of Shoshone National Forest. It's here that they would discover the truly gruesome consequences of an encounter with a formidable apex predator. Welcome to Grim Tales, and in this episode we take a look at the terrifying events that would unfold in front of these young men, and how sheer personal grit and the loyalty of their friendship would shape the outcome of their horrific ordeal. Let's dive in. Shoshone National Forest is a breathtaking wilderness located in northwestern Wyoming and spanning a staggering 2.4 million acres. This federally protected national forest is known for its stunning natural beauty and access to outdoor activities. It's not hard to understand why many are drawn here every year. Yet, visits to this wild terrain should always be taken with preparation and care, as amongst its beauty lies one of the most vicious animals on the planet. However, it was the allure of this wilderness that would lead Brady Lowry to leave his hometown of Cedar City, Utah, and enroll at Northwest College, Wyoming, to study conservation and achieve his dream of becoming a national champion in junior college wrestling. Talented, outgoing and determined, Brady was already a 2-time state champion in high school and had his pick of college scholarships, but chose Northwest due to its proximity to Shoshone National Forest. Brady said in a wrestling interview that, "It's so beautiful in the mountains. There's nowhere else I'd rather be." Amongst Brady's many interests, he also enjoyed shed hunting, which Shoshone National Forest would be an ideal location for. Shed hunting is the practice of searching for and collecting antlers that have been naturally shed by male deer or elk, usually in winter or early spring. Finding these striking trophies can be competitive and financially rewarding, with some elk horns known to fetch around $20 per pound. In that same interview, Brady described how he had been shed hunting since he was a child and enjoyed, and quote, "getting out in the mountains and not worrying about anything else. When you walk up on that big shed, it's one of the coolest things in the world." Brady's freshman year went well, and he was awarded the prestigious All-American title at the end of the year, meaning he was among the top 8 finishers at the national tournament and consistently demonstrated exceptional skill, technique and competitiveness throughout the season. He was seeded second at the national tournament in the beginning of the sophomore year and considered one of the top contenders for the championship, but was unfortunately withdrawn from the competition due to eligibility issues. Brady chose to leave Northwest on this basis, but missed the mountains of Wyoming, his teammates and his coach. He chose to return at age 21 to attempt his second year and try again for that all-important title. It was at the start of the school year that he met 19-year-old Kendall Cummings, a Wyoming native from Evanston. Kendall was also a sophomore wrestler, albeit not yet picked for the national team. With a shared interest in wrestling and the outdoors, the pair sparked a bond that would later prove to be a once-in-a-lifetime friendship. Before long, they would both enjoy trips to the Shoshone National Forest, hunting for those elusive antlers. On October 15th, 2022, they would do just that, alongside their friends Gus and Orin, both fellow Northwest JUCO wrestlers. Together, they headed for the Bobcat Houlihan Trail, roughly a 45-minute drive from campus on the outskirts of Yellowstone. All 4 set off, aware of the dangers of the wild and how to remain safe, carrying with them bear spray and a firearm for protection. The boys soon arrived at their destination and spent several hours making their way through the jagged terrain and dense bush. After a 15-mile hike and a few prize finds, the group decided to split up to cover more ground before sunset. By now, temperatures had dropped, and so the friends decided they would do one last push before making the journey home. Brady and Kendall took the high ground, and Gus and Orin stayed low. While scanning the area for antlers, Brady noticed signs of a bear. Just as he looked over his shoulder to warn his friend, suddenly it was all too late. An immense grizzly bear came crashing through the bush towards him in what must have been a truly terrifying sight. This formidable predator, native to North America, is large, powerful, and armed with a bite so strong it can crush a bowling ball. Brady was catapulted with brutal force, and the bear's claws tore through his flesh as he fell. It would inflict several forceful blows before biting his arm, shaking him violently and ripping through his skin to expose bone. As this blood-curdling scene played out in mere seconds, Kendall would witness this unimaginable horror. It was in this terrifying and frantic moment, Kendall made a split-second decision that would change his and his friend's life forever. In a fight-or-flight moment, Kendall chose to run towards the brutal assault, shouting and throwing what he could, hoping to distract the bear from his friend, but to no avail. In a desperate attempt to save Brady, Kendall jumped on the bear's back, punching and kicking the wild animal, pulling at its fur before wrenching at its ear. Thankfully, this turned the bear's attention away from Brady. However, Kendall had now become the target. Realizing he was next, Kendall ran as fast as he could from the deadly threat, but he would be no competition for the enraged grizzly, known to reach speeds of around 35 miles per hour. Kendall soon found himself thrown to the ground and shoved along before being pinned up against a tree. Amongst the ferocious chaos, somehow he managed to lodge his hands inside the bear's mouth in an attempt to protect his neck from its deadly bite. Imagine the sheer horror to be face to face with a wild bear, your hands physically inside its mouth, with its rancid breath flooding over you as it does everything in its power to rip you apart. Terrifying. Despite Kendall's efforts to protect himself, he was no match for the bear. Its powerful jaw came crushing down on Kendall's head. He would not only feel, but also hear the horrific crunch of his own bones as it sank into his skull. Meanwhile, Brady, bloody and broken, had managed to pick himself up off the forest floor, revealing the damage the bear had inflicted on him. With a bone sticking out of his arm, and knowing the bear had chased after Kendall, Brady raced towards his two friends for help, frantically dialing 911 with his functioning hand. The operator advised the boys to leave the area as soon as possible and wait for the proper authorities, but the young men, desperate to ensure Kendall made it out alive, headed in the direction of the bear. Whilst hope for rescue had risen, Kendall was still in grave danger, locked in the savage grips of the animal. With severe injuries, Kendall's ability to continue fighting back would have quickly diminished, and so he did the only thing he could: play dead. Fortunately, this led the bear to believe he was no longer a threat. Unfortunately, the bear decided to turn its attention back to where it had left Brady. Even with his face badly injured and his vision obscured by his own blood, Kendall's thoughts remained with his friend. He began shouting to warn Brady of an impending attack. However, this move, although noble, would prove to be a big mistake for Kendall. The bear returned, clutching Kendall's head in its jaw and lifting him clean off the ground. Kendall had already sustained unbearable injuries to his head, legs and shoulder. He could do no more than accept the bear's violent onslaught. In the midst of it all, it tried to turn him onto his back, but was stopped by Kendall's backpack containing those prized antlers that the young men had been seeking that day. Somehow, this seemed to end the aggression. Suddenly, the brutal attack was over, and the bear covered Kendall's mauled body with dirt before returning to the depths of the forest. Blinded by his own blood, Kendall somehow managed to unclip his backpack and drag himself across the rough ground in a vital attempt to to reach his friends.
They were able to call 911 with the help of their 2 other teammates, August Harrison from Vernal and Odin Jackson, as well as a Wyoming resident and hunter. They were able to meet up with search and rescue members. Brady was taken by ambulance to the hospital, while Kendall was airlifted with multiple injuries.
Though the exact reason for the sudden bear attack is unknown, this case should still act as a warning that when you venture out into the wilderness, you do it at your own risk.
60-some staples in my head, and then my cheek is stitched up here. Got my neck, but not very good. And then my arms and my legs, they're stitched clear across.
Fortunately, all 4 of them survived, thanks to their instincts in those terrifying moments. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay sane.